This is TWiT.
It's time for me and Robert Netflix and chill, baby. And when you chill, what's the biggest TV you have?
65.
Yeah, me too.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard for direct view. Sharp, I remember, made a 100-inch direct view LCD. I asked them how much. They said, well, there's no price.
That's the thing. If you break the 80-inch size, yeah, you kind of have to stop asking what the price is.
Yeah, don't ask. So this is one way to get a bigger screen, a projector.
One of the very best.
The problems with projectors are you got to get the projector far away in the back of the room. The brightness goes down. Projectors are dim. They don't work so well in lit rooms where the windows are open.
All true.
So Hisense, which is an up-and-coming Chinese manufacturer, Hisense really has taken the market by storm. They showed this at CES. This is their 100-inch projection TV.
Laser, short throw. And
what's that mean?
It means, in effect, that there is a special mirror on this projector. So when the light is coming out of it, it needs to be placed very close to the screen itself in order to get the image appropriately shining onto that screen.
This is only 8 inches away from the wall.
Exactly.
In fact, if you I wasn't going to get a TV like this because I didn't want to set up a projector distance and away and stuff like that. This is just basically the same footprint as my TV, right? Where I'd put the TV, I'd put the projector.
You think about how this screen is less than an inch thick, and including its mounting bracket.
And it's pretty light. You can...
That too, and no TV at that size is going to be that lightweight. So
right.
I think in general, installation is even easier than it would be with, say, like a 70, 80, 90-inch screen of a typical LCD, let alone like a plasma or something like that.
Now, we have video of Chris from Hisense installing it, actually a little time lapse we can show you. It comes in a box, it's fully assembled, so you're going to get a mighty big box.
That's nice in the sense that you don't have to deal with, that's the screen specifically. So that giant box comes with a pre-assembled screen that requires no tensioning. You basically put up the mounting bracket, and there he is actually doing a measurement for good height, so that projector, when it's set up probably on that box, it will hit that screen just right.
That's kind of important. In fact, Chris said, don't move the projector.
No.
Because once you get it set, you really want to leave it there. So this is not the kind of projector you're going to take outside.
No.
You're not going to move it around. It's going to be there. It's like imagine a big heavy TV, even though the screen is not.
And if you maybe have limited installation spots where putting a projector on the ceiling or mounted on a wall is just not going to happen.
Right.
The beauty of this is that, yeah, it's very close to the projector, and also it's very difficult for somebody to walk in front of the projection.
That's the funny thing. Let me show you real quickly. If I'm standing here, I'm not casting a shadow on the screen. I actually have to put my hand in front of the beam, which is here. So there's only this is the beam. Nobody's going to get in the way of this, which is great. No heads, no people getting up to get popcorn blocking your view. It kind of is like a direct view TV.
It's very similar. And I think the viewing angles, especially with a screen of this type, which they call an ambient light rejecting screen.
Well, tell me, because the screen is a little fancy. This isn't just a regular projection screen.
What makes this projector work in a well-lit room is the screen itself. And what it's doing is using a miniaturized set of louvers, you could think of it as, where this screen is really optimized for light coming from just one specific direction. And in this case, it's coming from underneath the screen. And any other light sources in the room will be literally rejected or reflected less.
Chris said that this is like a Fresnel lens, or maybe if you've ever seen those where you tilt the pictures and,
like the 3D effects.
Yeah, it's kind of that. So it's bouncing, the light's hitting the screen from below, and then it's bouncing it straight out, perpendicularly out, so that we see the light as we should. There's no keystoning. Is that a special thing you have to do, or is that part of the feature of the screen?
That's just careful setup. You saw the trouble he went to make sure the screen was square.
Yeah.
The surface it was placed on, that odds are where the projector is currently sitting wasn't level to begin with. So he probably very carefully adjusted each of the feet to get it just right, like so.
But there is inside the projector, there's, as you can see, an image that you can use to calibrate it.
Totally, to get it squared up just right.
Would you have to have an installer to put this in? Or
not at all.
No.
No, I mean, if you're not comfortable, say, wall mounting a TV, then maybe you would want somebody to actually set that up for you.
Right. So when you buy it, depending where you buy it, you could get an installation as part of the deal. At we didn't mention the price. I was kind of holding that for last.
$9,000. Consider this, though.
Okay.
It is a laser-based projection engine. One, that means you likely will never, ever have to worry about a lamp replacement.
He said 50,000 hours, which is really the lifetime.
That is a long, long time. Yeah. And with maybe to half brightness, you just won't ever have to deal with a situation where people are coming over and all of a sudden the projector goes pop and you don't have a spare lamp module.
Right.
And that just eliminates that hassle altogether.
This is a smart TV. In fact, it's got the best remote I've ever seen.
That remote is expensive.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That is not a cheap remote.
Aluminum. It also is simple. You know, even my Panasonic Viera from a couple of years ago has a much more complicated remote.
It's got some gravitas.
Very simple. It is a smart TV, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
There's a Netflix button, a Amazon button, 4K Now, and YouTube. So this has built-in smart TV features. We're watching right now, though, a Blu-ray Uhd Hdr disc. This is actually BBC's Blue Planet, Blue Planet 2 is amazing. Highly recommended. Just a gorgeous. And I wanted an HDR disc because in theory this is HDR, but is it really?
No. It is signal compatible. It is true 4K, which is something that not a lot of projectors can claim today. So that combination of, say, laser plus 4K is already pretty expensive from any manufacturer. The thing that it's really kind of lacking, and that any other projector at this price point's also lacking, is the wide color palette that makes HDR content so vivid and that expanded color palette that better mimics life, that as we can see it. And so that's the one thing it's a little short on.
Something really important to consider when I go home and look at my LG OLED that you calibrated, that is an incredible contrast ratio. The black is
true,
pitch black. It almost draws you in. The bright whites are so bright it hurts your eyes. Even an LCD is going to have a broader dynamic range than this. This is HDR10 only. No projector does Dolby Vision, and it really isn't as HDR as a direct view would be. On the other hand, it's a 100-inch screen. No direct view is going to give you 100 inches.
And a relatively seamless looking image. It is also, I find, just easier on the eyes compared to a lot of LCD TVs you see out there. Projection in general reminds me of the quality of good plasma televisions, where it's just, there's something about that like impulsive style display that just, it's easier to watch for longer periods of time. And because you're dealing with a screen at 100 inches with 4K resolution, detail perception on this is just fantastic.
It's a great party TV because you can stand at any angle. If you are off 180 degrees to the edge, it's still just as bright. It looks just, and I guess that's the screen. Look at that. You can actually, so if we're watching, the Super Bowl on this thing, I could have 100 people in here easy, and it would be a great experience.
That would be the screen everyone would watch.
Yeah.
And it's also a single chip DLP system, like you mentioned. It is doing some tricks to achieve the 4K resolution, but if you put up the actual test patterns and look at it, it is resolving 4K of resolution compared to some other projectors that do basically using 1080p imagers to convert that almost to 4K. Still, this is just a fantastic experience. Also, because of its being a single chip, compared to many 3-chip projectors out there, you won't have to deal with convergence adjustments and things like that, where you have to get the red, the blue, and the green image to overlap just perfectly. This has a single light path, so it is, I take that back, it might have 2 light paths, but either way, because of that single chip doing the imaging, it is then able to just eliminate a common problem with every projector when you first set it up, making it a little easier.
When they announced this at CES this year, they also said we're going to have a 150-inch. I don't know. That is really big. And they're going to do a dual laser model. I don't know when that's going to be.
They've been showing the dual laser setup now for a couple of years.
Would that be better?
It will give you a much wider color palette, actually approaching, I believe it would hit 100% DCI and probably some decent percentage of the larger color space called Rec 2020, which is this new format that's part of HDR programming. It is such a large color palette that no TV can properly hit currently. Wow. It's a good target to aim for down the road. But DCI, if you hear that mentioned frequently, that's what's used in Hollywood production.
That's the P3 that Apple talks about all the time.
99% of what Hollywood does is in that P3 format, and a lot of the new HDR TVs can support that.
This is 709.
It probably exceeds 709 a little bit, but it isn't hitting DCI P3 like some far more expensive projectors can do.
Okay. It does have Amazon's Echo built in. Switch to PS3. That's pretty cool.
I like that.
And now we can play God of War. So if you're a gamer, this would be a pretty good experience. What is the refresh rate on this? Is this something that we're not going to worry about?
Now, that's a good question on this. Is it a 60 hertz imager and it's just fixed, or can it do a multiple of, say, 24 for 24p playback from all your cinema content? That, to me, I just don't know off the top of my head, and that's something I would be very curious to know.
I don't know either.
One would hope it would be like, say, 120 hertz imager, because that's an even multiple of 24.
Right.
So, and 60, it works as well in terms of just frame
We're going to
doubling.
talk more about this in the call for help in just a little bit.
So I'll dig up some specs on that.
Games tend to be 60p. TV,
Generally.
Blu-ray, like we were just watching, 24p.
Yes.
So that's it. Now let me turn the sound up, because one of the other selling points of this is they have Harman Kardon speakers built into the projector. Now, honestly, I'm not sure if that's a great idea, because if you're going to buy a $10,000 TV, you're probably going to buy a decent AV receiver and some 5.1 sound or 7.2 sound. Nevertheless, this is a wireless sub. It's got 2 Harman Kardon tweeters, 50-watt audio, 60-watt wireless subwoofer. It sounds pretty good.
It's doing a decent job.
I
having two built-in stereo
I don't know what
speakers
the
in a
market
sub.
is, but I guess I figure, well, they're going to throw it in. It's a $10,000 TV. You don't need an AV receiver. You don't need surround sound for this. If you want to just set it up for the football game, this would be fine.
It's good to go just the way it is. But like you said, too, if you do have a dedicated room and you can do the 5.1 or, whatever Atmos setup, that it's ready to go for that as well. But this is a decent sounding set of speakers for, let alone a flat panel TV, just even other projectors I've listened to.
And I have to say, we've got lights on in this room. We've got TV lights. We couldn't be shooting this, and it looks great.
That's the benefit of a screen like this, the ambient light rejection versus something like
really
a
strong.
matte white screen especially.
Yeah.
Those just get annihilated in rooms like these. And
What a great way to play a video game, man. This just comes to life. Forget VR.
Sometimes on projectors, you'll find that lag can be an issue with certain types of games.
Right.
And that's something they're always working on. And if you do enable a game mode, you may not have all of the other visual adjustment features that you would normally have anyway. But it's still, once you start viewing content on a large enough screen to really perceive the detail, like this is honestly a perfect size for 1080p Blu-ray.
Right.
Just to be able to pick it apart,
Right.
to see every little issue
Don't worry
with
about
it.
the 4K HDR. 1080p. That's fine.
Oh,
That's all you
and
need.
the calibration controls allow for superb image reproduction for that content.
And could you do this? Show me the weather.
Currently, in Petaluma,
100 inches of weather, baby! That's the biggest weather forecast you ever got. It has built-in Amazon Echo.
low of 51 degrees.
Of all the things we could be watching on this TV, that seems to be the least interesting.
God of War or the weather?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
It has Netflix, YouTube, Prime Video, Vudu, Pandora, iHeart, Pluto TV. It's a smart TV. Was the official TV, you may remember, of the 2018 FIFA World Cup.
They
had
had
an
that
app.
sweet app where
Yeah.
you could watch all of the games too.
37 angles. Why didn't I buy this then?
And they need to offer that for more than.
Switch to Xbox.
Oh, they're getting away from me.
Were you going to play that game? You can't. You got to watch some more Seashore.
More
Blue Planet.
If I can get a little David Attenborough.
Yeah,
that
there's. You want some
soothing
Attenborough?
voice.
I could turn
Oh,
it up a
he's-
little bit.
no,
Yeah, he's in there. Yeah.
He is the best.
Remember the penguin. Watch as he seeks a new way of life on an island far, far away. What else can we tell you about this? It does come with professional installation.
I want to say this is a 60 hertz imaging system and not a multiple of 24.
Now, the video, the DVD is only 24 frames, right? As all Blu-rays tend to be.
Most TVs are dealing with a 60 hertz refresh rate in terms of how many times per
That gives
second.
it a nice solid feel to it, doesn't it?
It does, but it's kind of an odd multiple because it isn't
not-
even with 24,
Right.
or it isn't divisible by 24, and that's why 120 is just one of those nice numbers. Or in some cases, like say with the TCL Roku TV, that's a 60 hertz panel, but they actually drop the frame rate down to 48 hertz when it's doing 24p input. So you still get that multiple of 24 to keep just motion to be cinema-like, or just so that motion looks like it would in the movie theater and not artificially smooth or with a hitch to it as it does a panning shot or something like that.
You know what I say to that? Ooh, fishes! Fishes on the screen.
Those look intelligent.
They look like they're about to walk. Oy, oy, oy.
I think they're going to host a show.
Best of Show nominee for CES. There are more coming. I have to say, there's a little bit of a sacrifice because it's projection, but it is the best looking projection I've ever seen. And given its flexibility, if you can live with the price, $9,000, this Hisense 100-inch 4K Ultra HD smart laser TV is really sweet. I want this for the Super Bowl.
It handles rooms with light pretty damn well.
Yeah.
I really do
this
appreciate
is
that.
where, I mean, if I were going to get this, we'd put it in the big room, the gray room, because it's your party room, right?
Totally.
Anyway, we thank Hisense for coming out. And thank you, Chris, for installing it. And I have to say, do not ever get this in your business because it's a complete productivity killer. Nothing happened this week. We all were just TV.
Throw a spreadsheet up there real quick.
This is a home theater. I mean, it's like having a movie studio.
You know, for a 2.1 setup,
not bad, is it?
And for a large room like we're in, it is well done.